The top stories tonight in Y News. Senator Gatchalian shares concern over the proposed cultivation of marijuana for medical use. The Philippines with other neighboring nations in the Southeast Asia conduct a dialogue against human trafficking. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. plans to have a meeting with the businessmen of European Union on his second day in Brussels, Belgium. And Japanese space startup company iSpace Incorporated will soon land its private explorer on the moon's Atlas crater in April 2023. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, December 13, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news, a senator has expressed concern on a provision of a measure seeking to legalize the use of medical cannabis in the country. In today's hearing of the Senate Health Committee, Senator Gatchalian said he has doubts on how law enforcement agencies would control the proposed cultivation of the plant amid the country's illegal drug problem. Section 17 of the Medical Cannabis Compassionate Access Bill filed by Senator Robin Padilla mandates the Dangerous Drugs Board, or DDB, to assist with the formulation of guidelines for the cultivation, production, and distribution of marijuana. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, believes they are ready as long as there is participation among all law enforcement agencies. However, the DDB admits it will be difficult to regulate marijuana plantations.
That's precisely the reason why the law enforcement agencies are hesitant to support the proposed bill. It's the enforcement side because it's really a challenge.
Let's be realistic, no? PDEA will say yes, it's possible. What cost? Magkano? But if you will ask us, you need 10 billion to hire 2,000 agents, 3,000 agents, sabihin na namin sa'yo, it's impossible.
The panel will conduct another hearing on the proposal. Meanwhile, Senator Roland Bato de la Rosa claims drug syndicates are now back in business. The senator believes drug personalities have become fearless since former President Rodrigo Duterte stepped down from office. De la Rosa, who also served as the country's top cop in the previous administration, said that Duterte has expressed deep concern over the return of drug syndicates.
Talaga nalungkot siya na mayroon namang ganung pangyayari. But he doesn't want to interfere with how this government is running its own show. Hindi ko masasabing nagkukulang yung ating mga kapulisan at ang PDEA. They are doing their job. Pero diinan pa natin talaga para yung factor, yung fear factor nila o per factor nila to kay President Duterte na nawala ngayon, dapat i-compensate nila through their effort na pagdiinan talaga lang ng gusto.
The lawmaker also lamented the involvement of several law enforcement officers in the illegal drug trade. While he refused to answer whether the illegal drug war of the Marcos administration is weak or lacking, De la Rosa encourages the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation to intensify its internal cleansing to remove scalawags among their ranks. The Philippines has conducted a dialogue with some Southeast Asian countries today in Manila over the issue of human trafficking. Dante Amento tells us why.
In order to boost cooperation with other neighboring nations in the Southeast Asia over the fight against human trafficking, the Philippines, through the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, or IACAT, made the 8th Manila International Dialogue on Human Trafficking, on Tuesday, December 13. Southeast Asian countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, and Malaysia shared their endeavor to eradicate such criminal act.
Nag-share sila ng notes sa isa't isa. They were able to share their common experience, best practices, and the outcome of this basically is to form policies that will further eliminate and prevent itong human trafficking na problema natin.
Department of Justice or DOJ spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Miko Clavano, also co-chair of YACAT, disclosed that all countries that participated in the dialogue were committed to implement a new program to combat trafficking in person with Philippines. This is through the database sharing of individuals who committed crimes or fugitive from the law and other violations. This would immediately alarm the Immigration Bureau if they will enter the Philippines.
All the countries were very cooperative, tsaka nagbigay talaga sila ng kanilang commitment and promise to help in the formulation of policies to really solve this. And one of them was to share information with each other. Kasi ang malaking problema, yung hindi natin alam kung pumapasok dito ngayon yung mga perpetrators of itong human trafficking.
The Justice Department admitted that we have serious problem over trafficking in person. Even children were some of the victims. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, the sugar stock in the country increases by 91%. Based on the data from the Sugar Regulatory Administration or SRA, the September to November inventory of sugar accounts at 288,000 metric tons as compared with 119,000 at the same period last year. The early milling of sugar boosts the local supply of sugar and the recent importation allowed by the government. But the Department of Agriculture or DA will check the cost structure of the raw sugar. Based on the price monitoring of DA, the washed and brown sugar price increase to 90 pesos per kilogram. SRA board member Pablo Ascona said that the millgate price of raw sugar is only 65 pesos per kilogram. On the other hand, the price of refined sugar in Metro Manila is 97 pesos and 50 centavos.
Ngayon naman ang titingnan po natin yung raw sugar. So we will request for a cost structure from the SRA so that we can also see kung saan po tayo kailangan maglagay ng interventions.
The Department of Agriculture or DA assures the public that the country has enough supply of rice. This is despite the impact of tropical cyclones in the country this year. Some of the strongest storms are Agaton, Florita, Carding, and Paeng. Based on the data from DA, the country's lost around 500,000 metric tons of rice. But this is only equivalent to 2 to 3% of the total projection production this year. DA will implement programs next year to boost local production or rice.
Tayo ay very sufficient, especially this year, no, hanggang matapos ang taon. Meron pa po tayong buffer for next year. Taking into consideration po, sir, na marami po tayong na-damage na mga palay, pero we are still sufficient.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will have a meeting with the businessmen of European Union on his second day in Brussels, Belgium. He will also have an encounter with Belgian King Philippe in a royal audience. Be Privado will give us the details live. Yes, Be, good evening. Go ahead.
Yes, William. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. wishes Philippine-Belgium relations to be established. This will be laid out by the President in his meeting with King Philip this afternoon here in Brussels. According to the President, he intends to pursue the strategic partnership in Belgium.
It will also be an opportunity to convey to the King that the Philippines intends to pursue a strategic partnership with Belgium in various fields. And to this end, We look forward to signing a Philippines-Belgium Joint Plan of Action for 2023 to 27 that could further enhance bilateral cooperation, allow our two countries to discuss regional and global issues of mutual concern.
This is part the president's speech during the Filipino community gathering last night here in Brussels, wherein almost over 5,000 overseas Filipino workers are employed in Belgium. He is anticipating that the foreign businessmen's investment will be broadened to Philippines, which eventually will create more jobs. PBBM will also attend in the opening of the 10th ASEAN-EU Summit, where a speech will be rendered by the President. For the last activity of the President, he will meet up with a Filipino media delegation to give an update of his meetings today. Tomorrow, 14th of December 2022, will be the formal opening of the ASEAN-EU Commemorative Summit, and some bilateral meetings of the President with sidelines of the summit are expected. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Be Privado, reporting live from the United Kingdom. A Commission on Appointments, or CA panel, approved on Tuesday, December 13, the ad interim appointments of 3 cabinet secretaries of the Marcos administration. First to secure the nod of the commission is Department of Transportation Secretary Jaime Jimenez. During his confirmation hearing, Jimenez said they plan to finish the distribution of fuel subsidies to 600,000 tricycle drivers in January 15, 2023. He noted that today, 20,000 tricycle drivers have received fuel subsidies, and they will endeavor to reach 60% by the end of the year. Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development Secretary Jerry Acuzar also got the approval of the CA. Meanwhile, after being grilled over his stance on the proposed Maharlika Fund, National Economic and Development Authority Arsenio Balisacan was also recommended to be confirmed by the CA panel. The ad interim appointments of the 3 Marcos appointees are set to be approved in the plenary on Wednesday, December 14.
And for our news abroad, Japan's upcoming mission to the moon is considered historical, not just for the country itself, but also for the funding private company iSpace. Serbisyong Bayanihan will tell us why live. Yes, Cherise?
Good evening, Kath. Japanese space startup company iSpace Inc. will soon land its private explorer on the moon's Atlas crater in April 2023. Coined the Hack-to-R mission, this mission to the moon will be following the footsteps of the United States, Russia, and China on successfully touching down on Earth's nearest neighbor. The Explorer is on board a Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket and was launched on Sunday from Cape Canaveral, Florida, without any issues. Thanks to its fuel and energy-saving system, it is taking a slow, minimal energy path to the moon and also leaves more room for cargo within the cabin. The craft will be releasing a small NASA satellite into the moon's orbit, intended to search for water deposits before it touches down in the Atlas crater. Once landed, the Explorer will then deploy 2 rovers, one device made by Japan's JAXA Space Agency and another unit made by the UAE. iSpace founder and CEO Takeshi Hakamada commented on the excitement of the lunar business, foreshadowing a booming lunar economy. The private company is hopeful that this mission will open the doors to more commercial projects and deliveries of the government. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Serbisyong Bayanihan, reporting live from Japan. Mexico's President Lopez Obrador dreamed of multiple big projects for his country at the start of his term, but due to poor planning and other unforeseen problems, it is very likely that he will leave office with these projects hanging. Joselito Liquido tells us why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Kath. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador started his administration with a plan to finish a list of big projects in order to bring jobs, development, internet and banking services, and improve health care to Mexico's poor communities. However, it is very likely that he will leave office in 2024 with these projects unfinished. One of these projects is an oil refinery and a series of industrial parks. However, with no natural gas supply, the project's future is still unclear. A 1,500-kilometer train for tourists designed to run in a loop connecting the Yucatan Peninsula, beach resorts, and archaeological sites was also planned. But the president was forced to change the original plans after facing consistent resistance from hotel owners complaining about the effects of the construction to their businesses and environmentalists battling against tree cutting and damaging natural environments. Many are skeptic about the project because of its timeline. The president gave the Army engineers only 1 year to finish it, a similar construction on a similar terrain that China built in 7 years. Lopez Obrador blames the delays on the government being uncooperative, saying that they needed to be pushed for them to move, and also what he calls a broad conspiracy of conservatives he says is being funded by the United States. Meanwhile, Lopez Obrador did manage to finish one of his planned projects in the new Mexico City airport, but due to the absence of complete roads and railways linking to the new building, it is now heavily underused, and getting airlines to use the airport proves to be a struggle. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Joselito Liquido, for that report live from Malaysia. As China slowly eases their COVID-19 policies, the country's key phone application, Communications Itinerary Card, has been deactivated and went offline at the end of Monday, December 12. This app tracks the movement of its users to identify if they have been in a high-risk area by entering their phone number, and a green arrow will indicate if they can travel between provinces or enter events. The app, which has been running for the past 3 years, is an integral part of China's zero-COVID policy, and many users are relieved due to its shutdown. Last week, after some protests, China has eased some restrictions such as going to state facilities, and people can now isolate at home. They also don't have to show the test for most venues, and citizens can travel more freely inside the country. Although some restrictions have been eased, China is still known to have strict COVID-19 restrictions with their zero-COVID policy. China is currently experiencing a surge in their COVID-19 cases, with authorities saying that more than 22,000 patients had visited hospitals across Beijing on Sunday. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Kat. The Department of Social Welfare and Development plans to establish payout centers near the beneficiaries in isolated areas after the incident happened in Tanay, Rizal, which resulted to the death of 8 individuals. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, is now discussing on placing payout centers in isolated areas where beneficiaries are having trouble on their travel just to get cash aid. DSWD spokesperson Assistant Secretary Romel Lopez explained that they will utilize their social workers to personally give cash aids in geographically isolated or disadvantaged areas. This to avoid the same incident happened in Tanay, Rizal, where 8 individuals died after getting social pension in the town of their municipality.
Considering ginagawa naman po natin yan, pag yung mga geographically isolated and disadvantaged area, ay ginagawa naman po talaga ng DSWD yan. And sa ngayon, in discussion na po talaga tayo na ilapit as much as possible kung kakayanin ilapit yung ating mga payouts doon sa ating mga kababayan na nangangailangan.
ASEC Romel Lopez further clarified that the situation happened last Saturday in Tanay is an isolated case. The beneficiaries were obliged to come out in their town to get their cash aid, as they will also receive their cash cards from Land Bank, where cash assistance will be disbursed.
For the very reason na nandyan yung Land Bank of the Philippines, iba naman yung sistema nila, hindi naman kagaya natin na pwede natin silang hilahin kung saan kasi may protocol din sila na sinusunod. So yun nga lang yung naging complication. Kasi noong December 10, kasabay ng pamamahagi ng cash card, yun din yung disbursement ng kanilang assistance. Talagang yung pinunta nila doon, yung cash card nila.
Meanwhile, to ensure the safety of beneficiaries, disbursement officers, and social workers of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, the agency will postpone any cash assistance payout if there is a threat of bad weather condition.
Ang plano ngayon ng DSWD, pag may threat ng bad weather or any calamities for that fact ay marapat lamang na pagpaliban natin yung mga payout.
DSWD reminds its beneficiaries not to gamble their lives during bad weather condition just to get cash aid. The DSWD assures them that they will make continuous improvement on the system of the payout to reach as many indigent Filipinos as possible. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, on Tuesday, December 13, told the organization is not aware of any unilateral ceasefire recommendation with communist rebels for the holiday season. AFP spokesperson Colonel Medel Aguilar said that all they can do is just to declare a suspension offensive military operation, or SOMO, for Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army National Democratic Front. Aguilar hoped that those commanding the communist rebels will allow their colleagues to go back to their families or loved ones and experience the holiday season in peace. He also added that this opportunity would give the rebels the best time to think about their future and believed that they would choose the path to peace for the new year. Meanwhile, the implementing rules and regulations for the SIM Registration Act has been released by the National Telecommunications Commission. Under the said IRR, subscribers providing false information and other violations under the SIM Registration Act may face penalties. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
To further prevent the proliferation of tech scams, the Implementing Rules and Regulations, or IRR, for the SIM Registration Act imposes penalty on individuals providing false information during the registration process. Those proven to have violated the SIM Registration Act will face imprisonment of up to 2 years and a fine of not more than 300,000 pesos. SIM cards that are used for tech scams will immediately be deactivated. Individuals selling registered SIM cards or stolen SIM cards may also face up to 6 years of imprisonment. Meanwhile, telecommunication companies already prepared their platforms for the registration process. According to Smart Communications, they prepared for months in order to set up a SIM registration platform for their subscribers. The company is also prepared to provide assistance to persons with disabilities, senior citizens, and pregnant women for their registration. Globe Telecom also has a special assistance process for subscribers with no smartphones or internet access. Dito Telecommunity wants to streamline the process for their customers. Once the IRR has been implemented on December 27, SIM users are required to register their SIM cards to avoid deactivation. They have at least 180 days with an additional 120 days for registration. Any SIM cards that were not registered during the said period will be deactivated. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has distributed 84 brand new ambulances to select fire stations in the country to improve their emergency and disaster response services during a ceremony at the Bureau of Fire Protection, or BFP, National Headquarters in Quezon City on Monday, December 12. Interior Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. has noted that the distribution of new ambulances is a testament of the national government's commitment to public safety. Abalos gave tribute to the 34,000 BFP fire officers for their outstanding service as frontliners in protecting the public during emergencies and disasters, despite the lack of facilities and equipment. In a statement, Abalos shared that the distribution of emergency vehicles will further empower BFP personnel to provide high-level emergency response and rescue services and improve the agency's health services. The Interior Secretary has urged local government units or LGUs to collaborate with their local fire station commanders to ensure the safety of their communities and to become resilient and emergency ready, especially with an expected surge of emergencies during the holiday season. The DILG will conduct regular training for barangay officials to increase the number of force multipliers in times of fire and other calamities.
Patients in the United Kingdom with medical emergencies could be taken to hospital in a taxi starting next week. Ia de Vera explains why.
Thousands of National Health Service workers, particularly ambulance workings in the United Kingdom, will be unavailable on the 21 and 28 December due to a strike. Because of this, UK Health Minister Will Quinn says that taxis and other transport may take less urgent emergency calls instead. Emergency calls in the UK are categorized into 4 based on the patient's condition, and Quinn said that Category 1 and 2 calls involving heart attacks and strokes will still be responded to by emergency vehicles, while Category 3 and 4 non-urgent calls may be transported in taxis instead to free up ambulances. Military personnel will be on duty to cover more than 10,000 NHS workers out on strike. However, they will be restricted to non-urgent cases as they will not be able to drive over the speed limits or past red lights. The military are being prepared in case the strike continues throughout the week instead of the initial 2-day schedule. While ambulances may not be available for all categories, Quince added that patients should still call the official emergency telephone number 999 in an emergency and attend to any appointments unless they have been rescheduled. Ia de Vera, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Ukrainian Black Sea port of Odessa has reopened after its power network took a hit from Russian drones. Maven Dog will give us the details live. Maeve?
Iranian-made drones struck energy facilities in Odessa, Ukraine on Saturday, December 10, leaving 1.5 million people with no power ahead of sub-zero temperatures this week. The town is one of the 3 ports being used to ship Ukrainian grain to the world under a United Nations agreement with Turkey. Ukraine's agricultural minister confirmed that operations have resumed and grain export will not be suspended. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky said it will take days to restore electricity.
Енергетики, ремонтні бригади, обласна влада, усі працюють без перерви, щоб повернути світло. На жаль, влучання були критичними, тому потрібен не просто час, щоб відновити електрику, потрібні не години, на жаль, а кілька днів.
Thousands of people have made use of the region's points of invincibility, which are facilities that supply electricity and heat to residents during blackouts. Back to you, Kat.
Thank you, Maven Dog, for that report live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
Department of National Defense USEC Franco Nemesio Cagal met with Japan's Vice Minister of Defense for International Affairs Masami Oka at the Fairmont Hotel in Makati during the Philippine-Japan Vice Minister's Defense Dialogue. The two officials exchanged views on regional security developments, reviewed the overall progress of the Philippines-Japan defense cooperation, and discussed opportunities for bilateral as well as multilateral defense cooperation. Yusek Gakal has reaffirmed the Philippines-Japan strategic partnership as well as to the 2015 Memorandum on Defense Cooperation and Exchanges. Both sides also agreed that the situation in the Indo-Pacific and Europe are intertwined and highlighted that resolving issues of concern should be in line with international law. Yusek Gakal and Vice Minister Oka reaffirmed the agreement to work together to craft framework that will enable the Philippines and Japan to further develop defense cooperation. Our Kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word, giving glory to God from the book of Romans chapter 1 verse 17. It says, "For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith." Those are the reasons behind the news, December 13, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.